The street was packed, the usual city noise humming in the background, when suddenly, all eyes turned to one heated exchange. A middle-aged woman, frustration etched on her face, pointed a finger at a black man and spat out the words, "Go back to Africa." Gasps rippled through the crowd. People paused mid-step, their conversations falling silent. The man, calm, composed, locked eyes with her. But instead of anger, something else flickered in his expression. For a moment, the tension was unbearable. Was he going to lash out? Walk away? The woman stood firm, arms crossed, waiting for a fight. But what happened next caught everyone, including her, completely off guard. His response was so powerful, so unexpected, that the entire crowd stood frozen. And then something incredible happened. Stay tuned, because this is one moment you won't want to miss. The crowd held its breath, waiting for his reaction. The man, tall and confident, tilted his head slightly, studying the woman as if trying to understand where her anger came from. He didn't yell. He didn't insult her back. Instead, a small, knowing smile played at the corner of his lips. The woman shifted uncomfortably, as if she hadn't expected anything but rage. People around them whispered. Some pulled out their phones, recording every second. Others looked uneasy, unsure if they should step in. The city's usual rhythm, cars honking, distant laughter, the hum of conversations, faded into the background. Who was this man? Why was he so calm? And why did it feel like he was about to say something that would change everything? The woman, still defensive, opened her mouth to speak again, but before she could, he finally took a step forward. His words, when they came, left everyone hanging on the edge. The man took a slow breath, his gaze steady. "Africa," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Do you even know where your ancestors came from?" The question hung in the air, thick with meaning. The woman blinked, caught off guard. She had expected anger, a heated exchange, but not this. The crowd murmured, shifting closer, sensing something deeper unfolding. A young woman near the front whispered to her friend, "He's got a point." An older man folded his arms, watching closely. A teenager recording on his phone zoomed in, knowing this moment was about to go viral. The woman scoffed, shaking her head, but there was hesitation in her eyes now. "This is my country," she muttered, but her voice lacked the same sharpness. The man took another step forward, his expression unreadable. "You ever wonder how we all got here?" he asked. And just like that, the tension in the air grew even heavier. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't look away. The crowd had grown, their attention locked on the man who now stood firm, his presence unshaken. His words weren't loud, but they carried weight. "You talk about this country like it belongs to you alone," he said, his voice steady. "But history tells a different story." The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. A man in a business suit frowned, arms crossed. A mother with her child on her hip watched with quiet intensity. Even a group of teenagers, normally distracted by their phones, seemed glued to the moment. The woman's hands balled into fists at her sides. "I know my history," she shot back. "I was born here. My family built this country." The man nodded slowly, as if he had been expecting that answer. Then, with a quiet certainty that sent chills through the air, he said, "So did mine." Silence. The weight of those 3 words settled over the street like a storm cloud about to break. The woman's face twitched, as if his words had struck something deeper than she wanted to admit. The crowd waited, hanging on to every second of silence. Then she laughed, a short, forced sound. "Oh, please," she scoffed, shaking her head. "That's not the same." But the man didn't flinch. He took another step closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Isn't it?" he asked. "Who do you think built the roads, the buildings, the economy that gave your family a future here?" His voice remained calm, but there was something unshakable in it. "My ancestors' hands shaped this country just as much as yours did. Maybe more." The crowd is roaring, the lights are blazing, and the energy in the stadium is electric. But in the middle of all the excitement, something shocking is happening on the field. A black man steps onto the turf, looking calm and confident, but within seconds, security rushes toward him. Their voices are firm, their body language tense. "Sir, you need to leave," one of them says, motioning toward the exit. The man doesn't argue. He just stands there, almost amused, as they continue pressing him. Fans in the stands start watching, murmurs spreading. Some recognize him, others don't. Security is treating him like an intruder, completely unaware of who he really is. And just as they prepare to escort him out, he finally speaks, revealing something that changes everything. The looks on their faces say it all. They had no idea. But by then, the entire stadium is watching. The stadium falls into an uneasy silence. People are pulling out their phones, recording what's happening. Security, still unaware of their mistake, stands firm. "Sir, this area is restricted," one of them repeats, his tone more forceful. But the man doesn't move. He watches them with a quiet confidence, almost as if he's waiting to see how far they'll take this. A few fans in the front row start whispering, nudging each other. They recognize him now. He's been on the news, in interviews, standing on this very field before. But somehow, these guards don't realize who they're dealing with. A few players on the sidelines glance over, some shaking their heads, others just watching, waiting. Then, the man finally speaks. His voice is calm but firm. "I think you should check again." He reaches into his pocket, pulling out something small, but before they even see what it is, the shift in the air is undeniable. One of the security guards glances at what the man is holding. His expression shifts slightly, but he still doesn't back down. "Look, sir, we have rules," he says, his voice firm but less certain now. The man tilts his head slightly, studying their reactions. He knows exactly what's happening here. He's seen it before. But tonight, in front of thousands of fans, it's playing out on a much bigger stage. Meanwhile, up in the owner's box, a few executives are watching the scene unfold on the stadium screens. One of them leans forward, eyes narrowing. "Wait, is that?" He grabs his phone, dialing fast. Down on the field, the players are catching on. Some are smirking, others looking uncomfortable. They know who he is. Some of them have shaken his hand, signed deals with him, even had dinner with him. And yet, security still sees him as someone who doesn't belong. The murmurs in the crowd grow louder. A couple of reporters on the sidelines pull out their cameras, sensing a story. But security hasn't figured it out yet. They're still treating him like an outsider, like a problem that needs to be removed. And he's still standing there, waiting, letting them dig themselves deeper. Then finally, he raises his hand slightly, as if to stop the conversation. "I own this team," he says simply. But even as the words leave his mouth, doubt lingers in the air. Some believe him, others don't, and security, they're still not convinced. For a moment, there's complete silence. The words hang in the air, but security doesn't react right away. One of them shifts on his feet, glancing at his partner as if waiting for confirmation. The other crosses his arms. "I don't think so," he says, shaking his head. "We need to see some proof." His tone is sharp, doubtful. He still doesn't believe it. The man exhales slowly, his patience running thin. He holds up the small object in his hand, his official team owner's credential, complete with his name and photo. The security guards hesitate, eyes flicking between the badge and his face. Something in their expressions changes, but they're still skeptical. It's as if they can't process what they're seeing. Meanwhile, the tension in the stadium is thick. Fans are on edge, waiting for what happens next. A few players step closer, whispering among themselves. One of them, a star quarterback, shakes his head. "Man, this is crazy," he mutters under his breath. Up in the owner's box, an executive shouts into his phone, "Get down there now. Stop this before it gets worse." But down on the field, it's already spiraling. Reporters are creeping closer, cameras rolling. Social media is lighting up, clips of the moment spreading fast.